The very first time I went into a Quaker meeting, there was only one piece of ministry, and that was a celebration from a friend who was marking the end of hanging. So this dates it as the early 1960s. I had always felt that hanging was completely wrong. But I hadn't sorted myself out. I hadn't become a friend then, and I did 2 years within national service, not very happily or amicably there. I'd always felt that killing people either by the state for punishment or in war was quite wrong. And I found that all these people that I was now meeting also believed that, and that some of them had been conscientious objectors in the Second World War. They were saying that faith is what you do, that faith is action, faith is process. If you like, faith isn't a noun, but a verb. If it were a noun, it would just be words or dogma or liturgies or whatever. But for Quakers, it's something other than that. It's living in a certain style. It's engaging with the depths of life and living for life's fulfillment. I discovered that the founder of the Quakers, or one of the early friends as they're called, was a man called George Fox, who had a profound spiritual understanding, a great mystic, but a great practical man. And as a youth, when he was 18 or 19, he was disgusted at the old people who didn't seem to carry out what they believed in church, and the young people who just seemed to be sending it up when he had a drinking bout in a fair. He said these people were professors, and he wasn't meaning that academically, but of people who professed but didn't live what they believed or understood. And that spoke to me in the years that I've been involved with Quakers, because I see a people who in all their different ways are engaged in the doing. And the doing will be hugely various. Sometimes it's working together as friends, as our own local meeting or as a grouping of our regional meetings. But other times we'll be prompted and led to do something by ourselves, but with the support and the discernment, maybe, of the meeting itself. One of the things I was involved with was working with young people who were unemployed. By now, this is the 1980s, where unemployment was rife, and you could get pockets of money to work with young people to do interesting things. And with a gang of Quakers, we said, okay, let's work with some of these young people and do some training in what you could call conflict resolution. And we'd shape programs, and we'd travel around the country and demonstrate through a play or through a workshop how it was possible to do other things than come to blows, to come to violence. And we began to use the metaphor of fire. Somehow the word peace for a lot of young people can seem a bit wet, but fire is a bit more vigorous. So if we're firefighters, and if we're looking at all the imagery of fire, because fire is the burning of the conflict, some people escalate fires, they pour oil, they make fires worse, they fan it, others can try and control it. But also, a fire is about our leadings within ourselves. We have a little spark of an idea, and if we fan it and work positively, it can grow into something else. And that conflict resolution program is now about 30 years old. It's gone into innumerable youth clubs all over the country, but it's worked in prisons, it's worked in schools. Sometimes a whole school will work now with this organization, which has grown and grown and grown, so that now there's over 30 full-time staff of all different ethnicities and pluralities going into all kinds of institutions. Some of them have become the first paid conflict resolution workers in their particular field. And it's leading more and more to training other people, training youth leaders, training social workers, and more recently, even beginning to train members of the police force and to work with the army. The army is now, when it's not embattled, a peacekeeping force. And the police, when they're not accosting people, are also trying to keep the peace. And there's a growing new understanding that Friends had realized 350 years ago that there are alternative ways to dealing with conflict. That organization is called LEAP. And really, it's about taking a leap. Every conflict situation is about somebody moving, taking the first step. But as well as taking a leap to address the conflict, it's also a leap of faith.